Did you catch any of the Golden Globes? Did you see any of like the big winners?
I did. I don't know how. Did it start at 8 or 9?
It started at 8.
Oh, okay.
So
I
like
missed
11:30. It was like late.
Yeah, I started watching around 9:30ish. I'm trying to think of the first one first award I saw. I don't really remember, but I feel like I saw a lot of the bigger ones. I saw all of the important. Oh no, I didn't see Colin Farrell win for the Penguin, but I was happy with that one.
His speech was pretty good. He was. I don't know, you can find it later. He's very funny.
I did. As soon as I like checked all the winners after the show was over, and I saw that, and I watched his acceptance speech, because the thing with the shows is like with the movies, by the time the Oscars roll around, I try to see all or like most of the nominees. But with the Golden Globes at the beginning of the award season, it's like I'll have seen like a couple of the movies, and for the shows, I'll have seen like one per category. So I'm like, that's the one I want to win. If it's one I like. But I mean, he's really good. He's really good as a penguin. So I was happy to see that one.
I ever since the Golden Globes aired, I've been seeing clips from that Emilia Perez movie.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently it's like a real stinker.
That's what I've heard. I've heard people saying it's like trans Crash, like that. The one that won Best Picture.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I was reading about it because I'm like, this is like I've never heard of this movie. I have never heard of this movie up until now. Mm-hmm. And I read like some of the Wikipedia article, and it is like the perfect Golden Globes, like, and I don't know if it's going to be up for Oscars, but it is the perfect example of like critically, the Academy loves it. It's very up their alley of like, it's a woke movie. I'm not trying to use it in like that way, but I think in the context of like the Academy trying to be like, hey, we're cool, we're progressive, we get it, we don't harbor horrific sex monsters like everywhere. It's like, no, we get it, we're up. And then it's like you look at all these accolades from all the reviewers who like love the movie, and then it's like the people that don't love Emilia Perez, members of the LGBTQ community and people from Mexico, and it's like, oh, the two major groups that are in the movie, the movie that it's like all these like lily white Academy members are like, this is so profound and important, and it's like all the trans people are like, no, this shit sucks. And I'm like, oh, this is exactly like a perfect distillation of that like Oscar bait shit.
The term I like to use just like libbed up, because that's what it's like. That's what I use for like misguided progressiveness, I guess, or like
yes,
misguided or misinformed.
Woke has become such a loaded term now. Yeah,
it's very like it. I often associate it with like SNL, just in general nowadays. Not that I haven't seen Emilia Perez, but I thought you were going to say, do you know who directed it?
No.
Jacques Audiard, who did A Prophet. So, yeah. How wild is that?
That's the one thing I didn't look up the director. Are you shitting?
Yeah, no, it is.
Wow.
If it's nominated for Best Picture, I'll check it out of like a curiosity. I'd be way less irritated if I had to watch that because it's nominated for Best Picture than Wicked. That's the one I'm really hoping doesn't get a nom, because I do not want to watch that fucking movie.
Did you see like the one award that Wicked got, and it was like the Box Office Achievement Award? Yeah. That is the funniest thing. And also, I don't think Wicked did better in the box office than like Deadpool and Wolverine or it's Inside Out. Like
it's cinematic and box office achievement. So it's like it has to be like good, and also it's their excuse to like give it to like, that's what they're, because like a common criticism for those is that like they don't like nominate movies that people know, and it's because a lot of like blockbusters aren't that great, or they're, you know, not to say that like, you know, all the movies that do get nominated for awards are great too, but you know, there's like a certain vibe to them. So that's like their that's their, what's the term for like meeting in the middle there?
It's like a consolation prize.
Consolation. That's what I was looking for. Yeah. Of like, here we go. So we can feature these popular movies that everybody knows, and we'll give it to the one that's, well, you know, Wicked's nominated for best, you know, it's in like the main movie category. We're not going to give it the actual award, so we'll just give it this one instead.
Yeah. And like the director or someone from the team was like, I feel like when he was accepting the award, it's like, you know, it's like, oh my God, this is so important.
Yeah.
Like and it's like, dude, you don't, this is a participation trophy for you, kind of.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Man, no, I'll say from experience.
Do you think they'll put it up for Best Picture?
I think there's a definite chance. I think there was more like when it came out originally, I think there was kind of more of a push. I still wouldn't be surprised if it did get nominated. I hope it doesn't, but I won't be surprised.
Yeah, I will not be seeing that in theaters because apparently there have been problems with like people singing during it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it at the theater where you work?
No, we had it, but I was surprised how we only had it for...
It's gone already?
Yeah, we had it for 3, maybe 4 weeks. I was really surprised we got rid of it. So
damn, that seems like one that was gonna like hang on for a while.
That's what I was worried about. But thankfully, no. Yeah, speaking of, I can speak from experience that is the director, the guy did the acceptance speech, and he's just very weird and awkward because I would have to watch their interview on Nuvi on repeat in the lobby for a few weeks. And every time he talked, he's so stilted and weird. I don't know. You just have to watch it to know what I mean. But he's very, he's just an odd fellow. And
okay, yeah. Oh, what else? Yeah. The other thing that was bothering me about the Golden Globes is how they determine categories, and we may have talked about this on previous episodes where we've talked about the Golden Globes, but like the way that movies are lumped into like it's either like comedy or musical or TV miniseries and it's just like the only thing that I've really seen this year is like Anora and maybe a few other things.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that both Anora and The Substance kept getting lumped into like the comedy genre, I don't know. I haven't seen The Substance, but Anora is like it's kind of funny in the way that like Uncut Gems is funny.
I've heard people say it's like hilarious,
but
but there's a lot of dramatic elements to it.
Yeah, I wouldn't. It's not like a traditional like comedy though.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say out of those I've seen Challengers and The Substance, and like, yeah, I wouldn't say they both have like comedy in them.
Yeah,
in the sense that like any movie will have jokes, you know.
Right.
That's not like, just like a completely
having
miserable
like any sort of levity to them at all.
Yeah, but that's not the drive of them. Like The Substance is not. Challengers is like, it's like a kind of romance, I guess. I don't know but yeah, it's either like you just do what the Oscars do and just do Best Picture, just don't delineate that, or do Best Drama, Best Comedy, Best Action, Best Horror Movie, you know, just do all the genres, or just don't do any. It is weird to do it that way. Or you can do, best comedy or musical, best drama or sci-fi. I don't know. If you just want to have two categories, just maybe broaden the scope of them or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's just weird seeing like movies that I don't feel like they would belong in that category, like up against other things that are in that category. It's like, well, they don't really stand a chance because those movies they want to be the thing that they're in the category for, where like Anora is a drama that has comedy. In it.
Right, yeah. Yeah, whereas, like Amelia Perez is a musical, Wicked is a musical. I feel like A Real Pain is probably in the same area of like Anora and Challengers maybe, where I'm sure that it's like funny because it got Kieran Culkin and Jesse Eisenberg. I'm sure there's some fun, like quirky, like, Odd Couple style humor, but I'm pretty sure that's like a pretty heavy movie.
Yeah, so that's what I've gathered from like what few things I've seen of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see The Brutalist. That looks interesting to me.
Yeah.
I like Adrian Brody. He was like I always thought that the Golden Globes are kind of like, hey, let's just like hang out because it's an award show, but it's not the Oscars. But like,
he was getting like really emotional. Yeah.
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 He was very emotional. Same with
I was surprised, especially since he's won
Zoe Saldana. She won for Amelia Perez, and it was like the first award of the night, and she was like weeping.
That may have been her first like big award. It's less surprising if it's like the if it's somebody's like first award. But yeah, Adrian Brody won Oscars before, an Oscar at least before, for also playing like a Holocaust survivor. So I guess that's his niche, because I'm pretty sure that's like what The Brutalist is about.
Nikki Glazer made a joke. It's like, Adrian Brody is here. He survived 2 Holocausts.
That's funny.
Demi Moore's speech was really good. I liked what she had to say.
Yeah, that was great. That was awesome. I was so happy that she won. So that was one of the rare cases where I had seen 2 of the nominees because Zendaya was up for Challengers. I loved Challengers. I thought Zendaya was awesome, but I really like Demi Moore that's my horse that I'm backing to win. She was great. She's
gotta see The Substance. I need to see that ASAP.
Yeah. And it was crazy. Like, she said she had never won an award for acting before in all of her years. And like, her whole speech about like, not thinking that she was like made for like serious movies. And it was cool. It was a really good, like, from the heart speech. And it's just cool to see her win for something that, like, it's nice to see those ones that are kind of on the outs because the movie is just so bizarre and not the normal fare that you see nominated. Especially her role and all the like the stuff that she does in it. You're thinking like, I feel like your average person, maybe even like, awards voter person would see it and be like, that's just weird. That's, it's too weird for me kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't really like get the, how much she had to do for it or whatever. So it's cool to see recognition. I think that'll
and also
definitely propel her to get nominated for the Oscar too.
Yeah. But also I could see it being a situation where the Academy's like, okay, well, the message of this movie is like Hollywood chews up women and spits them out when they're too old and broken, and it's like if we like give an award to that, we're essentially like rewarding that statement, which is very much what we are trying to avoid for like bad PR for us. So I could almost see them like being like, okay, we'll give you the nomination. You're not going to win shit for any of this because that's like a tacit acknowledgement of like.
Or if they don't give her the win, they're just proving the movie right. And then it's like,
that's also, oh man. They've got them kind of in a bind there a little bit, where it's like you either if you acknowledge it or you don't. You're kind of like screwed either way.
Yeah.
So just give her the award.
Yeah. Yep, she's got my vote. As much as I did like Zendaya, she's still got my vote. And even better was Cynthia Erivo not winning for Wicked. That was like all I was like, I've heard good things about Honora. She could win too. That'd be cool. I'm just like, it's just as long as the Wicked lady doesn't win.
I'd like to see Mikey Madison awarded in some way because I think she was very good in Honora. Yeah. That's what I've heard. I also really enjoyed how stoked Elton John was for Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross winning for Challengers.
That was me too. I was pumped that they won.
Like when she read the name, Elton John was like, "Yeah, yeah." He was like so stoked about it.
Yeah, I don't know if that was just Elton John or if he's like, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross have been in the music biz for a while. Maybe he knows them, or maybe he's. Yeah. I could see him being a fan of their work or whatever. But yeah, also I don't remember what other ones were up, but yeah, that soundtrack fucking rocks. I had a song on like my Spotify Wrapped. One of the songs on that was like my second or third most played song of the year. Shit. So prove that I'm a real fan of that one. And I found a like a remixed album of that, so I've been listening to that recently. They're like music. I like Nine Inch Nails well enough, but like their musical like scoring for movies and shows is just, they're always fucking fire. Like they do not miss in my opinion.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think The Social Network is probably that's the only one that I like. The Social Network score is so good.
Have you seen have you watched the Watchmen show?
No.
Oh, because they did that one too. That? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Very, very good. And then they did so the Luca Guadagnino, who directed Challengers, did another movie that just came out called Queer, with the same writer as Challengers, and Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross did the score again.
Shit.
Apparently it's really good. I'm on the Luca hype train after Challengers, so I really want to see it. But I've heard that the music in that is also very good.
Sweet. Maybe when the Oscars, the noms get announced, we can do another deep dive. And then I probably say this every year, but I do think I'm gonna try and at least see all the Best Picture noms. I think it's doable.
Welcome back, ladies and gents, to ThereWillBeDuds. This is another episode of it, 170 to be specific. And I am your co-host, TJ. And with me as always, I am Nick. Could you hear that?
Was that your cat?
No, I think it was I think it was a car outside. It sounded like a fucking goose or something. That was really weird.
Gee, for a second I thought you were doing a bit. I'm like, is there something from the movie that I forgot? I don't know. I'm not following. Yeah.
Yeah, we watched a movie this week, as always. And that movie this week is Withnail and I, from 1987, directed by Bruce Robinson. It follows two kind of out-of-work actors in the 60s in the UK. They decide to go on holiday to one of their relatives' like country house. And they do, but they're just kind of miserable people, and they just kind of have a miserable time. There's not much to the plot. There's character stuff that goes on, but it's mostly just them kind of like bumming around the country for a few days or weeks or something. It's like a British cult classic, as far as I know. That's kind of how I know about it. I'd always like seen the cover, like with that art style. It's the same guy that does like Hunter S. Thompson's stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. And that always kind of like stuck out to me. And then I knew Richard E. Grant was in it, but beyond that, I didn't know too much about it. So it's like, it's definitely a comedy. Like, I think it's known for being like humorous and everything, but it's also gets like pretty grim.
Yeah.
Pretty like dour.
It's funny until it's not, and then when it's not, you're just kind of. And I'm thinking mostly of the ending that was kind of like I would say the biggest bummer was kind of like how it ended and like the sort of the way that the two characters essentially like parted ways. But I would say like the first like half an hour to 45 minutes was pretty damn funny. I really like the dynamic between Withnail and he does have a name. Marwood. I like the dynamic between the two of them where Withnail is very like he's very cocksure. He's very like declarative about everything, where just like anything you say to him, he has like some sort of retort about like, you know, well, I can't go do this. This is you idiot. Why would you think that I want to do something like that? And Marwood is just like borderline like paranoid, like schizophrenic, where he's just like he's like afraid of the world almost. Like the opening sequence where he's like he goes to a diner and I feel like he's reading like it's like a montage of like newspapers about like sex reassignment surgeries, and he's just like reading it, and he's just kind of like looking around. His eyes are like darting at everybody there, and I feel like he reads one headline about like a sex assignment surgery, and he looks up, and this lady takes a bite of a sandwich, and the egg yolk just like poops out the backside of the, and he's like I have to go, like he has to leave. Like it was a wild introduction to the movie.
I think the opening, I don't know, 15-20 minutes was like the most, like I was like like it got me the most, like it had like the best like jokes and like humor to it, and not that like the rest of it wasn't. I really liked the movie, but that was where I was like, if it's like this the whole time, this is going to be amazing. And there's like so many like one-liners and everything, but that whole like that bit was great. And then when he comes home and Withnail like drinks like lighter fluid and then he's like he accosts him for like smelling bad and like he needs to wash up, and then he like takes it as like a challenge, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna be the one who does the washing up, and then he's like, no, you can't, and he's like, why? And he's like, there's something growing in there, and they're like trying to it's like they're both like drunk and or high, and it's just trying to like wrestle through this to like clean the sink basically so that they can wash themselves.
I told you, you've been bitten. Burn the fucking kettle's on fire. They're probably floating up. Fork it. No, don't touch it. You must. The poop will boil through the glaze. We'll never be able to use the dinner service again.
Yeah, their whole like bachelor pad is just disgusting. There's just plates and bottles and just trash and refuse piled up everywhere. Like you feel itchy watching it. Yeah. It does a great job of capturing the like this like miserable life, I guess. And I do like this sort of implication also that Withnail is like a rich kid, that he's just like he doesn't have to live like this. He really but it, like obviously he doesn't like have a good relationship with his father, who is like wealthy, and it's like because he's doing this like bohemian style, like I'm going to be an actor. Like it's almost like the romanticization of like being like a drunkard and like a smoker, and it's like, well, I'm an artist and this is like my method and this is how I have to live to be like an actor. And it's just like he's like cosplaying as like poor, essentially.
Because he's a true artiste, so he's got to be I think that I appreciate that opening sequence a lot for, I guess, just being such like a good introduction to the characters, because like it's mostly these guys, right? And it's a thing where like I enjoy them, I like the characters, and I like watching them, but I could definitely see somebody watching this and just being annoyed by them. And if you don't like these characters, I could
hate it.
You like hate the movie. Yeah. You just think that they're like, oh, he's just obnoxious and they're assholes, and it's like, yeah, you're right, but it's like that's funny and like that's good. Like that's why they're like entertaining characters. Yeah, I really like their dichotomy, like how they like how their like differences and how they like play off each other. But and then there Danny, the drug dealer,
Danny rocks. I love Danny.
Don't get uptight with me, man. Because if you do, I'll have to give you a dose of medicine. And if I spike you, you'll know you've been spoken to.
You wouldn't spike me. You're too mean. Besides, there's nothing invented I couldn't take.
If I medicined you, you'd think a brain tumor was a birthday present.
So he showed up, and like I looked up, and the guy that plays Marwood, I was like, oh, what do I know him from? And I guess he's played Doctor Who, so I was like, oh, maybe that. But he was actually in Alien 3. And then Danny shows up, and I knew instantly. I was like, he's in Alien 3 too. So they're both in the David Fincher, the third Alien movie. And I guess I looked up. Apparently, that was intentional. He wanted to have Richard E. Grant
Fincher
in
like
it
loved
as well.
this movie, and he wanted to make it like be a pseudo reunion of those characters.
Yeah,
which is it's like very strange. Like
it is, right, for
yeah
his first movie and for an Alien movie. I don't know, but that was he wanted Richard E. Grant to be what ended up being Charles Dance's character, which I would be interested to see. But also Charles Dance is like my favorite character in that movie, so I'm like, I really like Charles Dance in that movie. But Richard E. Grant's good too. And also the other thing that's funny about Danny is he's not a reunion thing, but he's playing basically the exact same character that he plays in Wayne's World 2. He plays like this like English roadie or something. It's been such a long time since I've seen that movie, but he like helps them like put together their concert, and I've heard that voice so many times. And he does the same thing. He has like the long hair, and he's like, yeah, so yeah, like that's exactly how he talks in Wayne's World 2.
The Camberwell carrot, and it is like the biggest joint of all time. Also, I did not think that we were actually going to see Presumin' Ed, which I think is like an incredible nickname for it. Like he's just a presuming guy. I'm Presumin' Ed. They're just squatting there. He's just like in the bathtub. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which apparently, when you see Presumin' Ed in the bathtub while My Guitar Gently Weeps is playing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was playing like when they show up, yeah.
And apparently I think George Harrison is like a producer of this movie.
Yeah,
and
I saw
that's
his
like,
name at the beginning, yeah.
It's like, that's why it was allowed. Because I think now, you know, like music like that is pretty like ubiquitous with movies. Like there's just songs all over the place. Like, but I think back then it was like, if you want to put a Beatles song in this movie, like you're going to have to pay up.
Yeah.
Or you got to know a guy. And George Harrison was like, yeah, sure. And then it's like the inverse of that. I read that like the Jimi Hendrix estate like
I saw
tightened
that too,
it up because they were like, we don't want this music to be associated with this kind of shit anymore. Like two like drugged out losers.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Oh Jesus, no! This happened in the 80s. Oh my God. For a second there, I was like, was Jimi Hendrix alive when they made this movie?
Dude, I was thinking
place
that
in
too.
the 60s. It was shot in the 80s. Jimi Hendrix is dead. Yes.
I had that same thought.
Because it does kind of look like a 60s movie. The way that it's the style. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, did you notice that Ringo Starr was credited too?
No.
He was like it was like special production assistant or something like that. I noticed he was credited as Richard Starkey, and I looked up. I was like, so does that mean like Ringo Starr? And yeah, apparently.
Oh, that's wild.
And I'm sure it's because George Harrison was a producer, and I don't know.
Yeah,
Ringo's like, he's a bro, so he's probably just like, yeah, George is working on that. Sure, I'll help out.
Well, then it's like, is Bruce Robinson just like homeboys with like the Beatles?
I don't know. I'm not really sure. This was his first movie he had directed. I think he's primarily a writer. I saw that he had acted and stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't really know like his history or connections. I could see that like George Harrison produced some movies, and when I saw his name on the credits, I was like, it totally makes sense that this is something that he would produce. This feels like exactly like his kind of like style and humor and stuff. So maybe it could just be a case of like somebody, sent it to him, or I don't know, however that works is like with producers, but maybe he just heard about it and he was like, yeah, that sounds cool. Yeah,
that could be. Bruce Robinson was in Romeo and Juliet, the 1968 one.
Yeah. Did you read any of the stuff about that and like the connections to the movie?
No.
So there's a couple things, but there's the stuff like when he's reading the newspaper at the beginning, there's like something about like some actor gets hired for like by Italian director, and he like says something in his head about how he's like, oh yeah, he's probably getting paid this much for the role and this much to basically for his ass. But like the director's like pay. And that and the character of Uncle Monty, he based on the director of Romeo and Juliet, who apparently did some unsavory advances on Bruce Robinson when he was doing Romeo and Juliet.
Yes, I did see that part. That like it was like, yeah, I worked on this movie, and the director, like, I think even like some of the exact lines of dialogue that Monty gives were like,
the sponger, are you a stoner or a sponge? Fucking Uncle Vernon. I couldn't believe
from
that.
Harry Potter. Yeah.
Uncle Monty, Uncle Vernon.
I guess that it was nice seeing awesome, that actor. Yeah. Because like I've only known him as Uncle Vernon from Harry Potter. So like seeing him being like, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's like they're all probably like British theater guys. So it's like seeing him playing like an eccentric gay weirdo. I was like, oh, this is like kind of a refreshing role for him when I'm used to just like very dour, angry guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I really liked. Yeah, maybe it was just that it was just like the fun of seeing Uncle Vernon and in like a completely different role. But I thought I really liked. Yeah, like the trio, like all three of those guys are just like so fun to watch. They're so like their dialogue is great. I like laughed out loud even with the like uncomfortableness of just like what's going on, but also the thing of like when you're watching older movies and you're like, oh, how are they gonna handle this? Oh, he's a gay character and the one guy's like very uncomfortable with it. How are they? Is this gonna be like,
yeah?
But there's the part where he's like, where Withnail goes out to get something. He like goes to town, so it's just Monty and Marwood, and he's like, oh, let's cook. So and Marwood's like up against the table, and he like reaches into the grocery bag, and he's like, let's grab some carrots, and he's like, I think those are in the other bag, and he's like, oh yes, you're right, and he reaches with his other hand, so he's like basically like bear hugging Marwood, and just like the
straddling him almost.
Of that was hilarious.
Can't find the rosemary. Sure, we could find it together.
Perhaps it's in the other bag.
Perhaps it is. Shall we look?
but then it's like it kind of makes sense because Withnail kind of sold him out, or like told Monty that he's like, oh yeah, he's gay, but he's like really repressed about it, and he doesn't want to. And then like, I feel like that scene was like kind of played for laughs, but also it like wasn't. It was played for laughs in the sense that it was like a comedy of errors where like, oh, these two characters were mistaken with each other. I feel like in the 80s it could have been like oh haha, character's gay, and like that's the, but the joke is like the misunderstanding. Yeah, and it's like it's not played as like this is like a bad thing. I don't know, because usually with like movies from this time period, like 80s 90s, that kind of deal with that subject matter, it's not usually done in the best. But even in that situation, it was like funny, but it was also like it wasn't like problematic, if you will. Like, I thought it was done well. 100%. I think it rode the line very well. Whereas if he was just like, if it hadn't been like Withnail kind of set him up, and he was just doing it because he's like, well, I'm gay and gay people are predators and we're gonna try to have sex with you, that would have been worse. But he's like, well, there's precedence for it. And then when Marwood was like, well, we're together, we're happy together, he laid off. You know, he was like, okay, I don't want to come between you. You know, it was a misunderstanding. It's like if it had not acknowledged that Withnail set him up, or that he had just like pressed on and like continued, then it would have been like, you're kind of losing me here. But it did, like, I think it handled it like, mostly pretty well. Yeah. And yeah, like other than that, like aspect, it wasn't like the character of Monty was like made into a joke because he was gay. It was like just that like aspect or whatever. Yeah. It was more just like he wanted to leave because of that, but also just like they're just assholes who like use him for like whatever they can, and like they're like they're walking around with just plastic bags tied around their shoes because they're in like this countryside and everything is just muddy and shitty. And so he takes them to town and gives them money to go get boots. And they're like, oh, well, we can stop at the pub first at least. And then they just piss all the money away like drinking. Yeah. It's just, they're such deadbeat shithead assholes. Yeah. Like, and then they get kicked out of like, I want a cake. Yeah. And like, well, we're closing.
The finest wine that you have or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That I really like that scene. I don't remember like any of the lines, but it was just really funny, like hearing them like bicker with the old ladies, and just like, actually, we're millionaires and we're going to buy this place, and just like totally lying through their teeth.
Like it's like they're going to like buy it and turn it into like something else, and then it won't even be like the same restaurant anymore. Yeah. Unless you bring us a cake.
Yeah. Yeah, what can I say about that? Yeah, oh yeah, I liked I really liked like we were talking before about the like kind of the misery of just how their living situation and all that, and even like when they get to this cabin and it's like, at first, I was like a little confused. I thought that like their car broke down and they were like, we need to find some place to stay for the night. I didn't realize that was where they were going, because they show up and they're like, we need to light a fire. We're going to freeze to death. Like that's where that's the place that they're trying to go to. I was like, I thought this was some like hole in the wall that they were like, you know,
this is like some abandoned building that no one's lived in for years.
But that's like the intended destination, and it's like a survivalist situation.
Yeah. They're like breaking chairs to throw into the furnace to like light on fire.
Yeah. And then like even like the next couple days, like before Monty gets there, it's like they're having to like scratch and survive. Like they're like making deals with the farmers and like having to go out for like scrap wood and like fish in the river with the rifle and stuff.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. Just
yeah. But there's also like it's one of those weird things where it's kind of simultaneously like cozy. Like I really liked
just about to say that.
Just like being in this world, despite how like wet and just cold it all
as soon as they
seemed.
got like the fire going and they were like sitting in chairs around that fire, I was like, looks kind of nice. I would like sit in like a big, you know, like armchair with a blanket on by a fire. That sounds, and then it's like, yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be, you know, like gross and wet and muddy, but like some of the shots of just like the landscape out there, like these like huge, like just pastoral fields and like rolling hills. I'm like, that's so nice.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to like do something like that. I mean, especially like in Michigan where there's not really anything like that. There's no, you know, rolling hills.
You could
not
like the landscape, but like the UP, you could find a cabin in the middle of the woods and, you know, you could probably have like a similar situation to that. Yeah. Yeah. I really like, I was feeling the same way. I'm like, I want to have like want to do a vacation like this where it's just like, it's almost like a, you know, you're dropped into a new Minecraft seed and you gotta start from scratch. And
collect wood.
Yeah. Collect the wood.
Part of the original casting, or like the original person that they wanted for Withnail was Daniel Day-Lewis, who turned it down.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
I
Interesting.
can kind of see it.
I mean, I think
because
he can pull off whatever he wants. Yeah.
Right. True. But based on his character in Phantom Thread and how sort of like finicky and peculiar and particular he is, like Reynolds Woodcock is as a character, I think Daniel Day-Lewis could easily do a Withnail, like with that sort of like attitude of just like, well, I'm not going to do that. Like, that sort of like prissiness.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a couple others listed, and like all the cases I was like, oh, I would be interested to see how all those would have turned out. But I love, like, you know, the people that we got. So, you know, so it's like, it'd be interesting. And, you know, who knows, I'd probably be saying the other way around if those guys did get casted, maybe. But I think like Richard E. Grant is great in the role. The way that he'll like turn on a dime with like I watched this a couple days ago, so I'm like forgetting like individual lines, but like there's the part where they're in that bar near the beginning, and there's like the guy that calls Marwood a ponce, and he's like, oh, why did he call me that? What's wrong with me? What did I do to offend him? And then he goes out and he's like saying like, oh, we have to get out of here. And he's like, why? And he's like, that guy called me a ponce. And he's like, what fucker said that? Like, he's all like haughty and like, I'm gonna kick his ass. And the guy comes up and he's like, you know, 2 feet taller than him. And like the way that like his face changes when he shows up, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry what we did to offend you. Actually, I don't really know this guy, so this is between, like, he's just like rattling off like different excuses, and like is like option A didn't work. Okay, option B. Okay, option B didn't work. Okay, option C, run. And they just run out the door.
Would you like a drink?
What's your name, not fuck?
I have a heart condition. If you hit me, it's murder.
I'll murder the Pirius!
My wife is having a baby.
Yeah, okay. So throughout, there are like various points where Marwood kind of has this voiceover narration, and this is like that scene, but the part with the graffiti made me laugh so hard.
I could hardly piss straight with fear. He was a man with 3/4 of an inch of brain who'd taken a dislike to me. What have I done to offend him? I don't consciously offend big men like this. This one has a definite imbalance of hormone in him. Getting him more masculine than him, you'd have to live up a tree. I fuck asses. Who fucks asses? Maybe he fucks asses. Maybe he's written this in some moment of drunken sincerity. I'm a considerable danger in here. I must get out of here at once.
Just like his like paranoid thought process of just like going from, oh, this guy wants to like kill me. Oh no, this man is going to fuck me.
Yeah.
And it's just like all of this is in his head.
Yeah, there's great turns of phrases like that. Like the maybe he wrote it in a moment of drunken sincerity. That just like you can tell that Bruce Robinson is like a novelist outside of this. Just the way that he like writes dialogue in that way, it really feels like reading a book sometimes. Like just how the characters talk is like everybody except the ones who are supposed to be dumb, but everybody is just like it's that novelist way of writing of like everybody's just a little too witty and a little too clever. Like everybody's very like well spoken,
right?
Even if they're like drunken like losers, like the main guys.
So, did you see that there is a drinking game associated with this?
I did, yeah. Yeah.
It is. Oh God, was it on the Wikipedia or where was it?
I don't remember.
I was reading about it somewhere, but it lists everything that you would have to drink to keep up with them, and it's like insane. Oh, so we got
it's following.
one mouth,
it's you drink everything that Withnail drinks specifically.
Mouthful of red wine, lighter fluid, double gin, finger of cider with ice, 3 of those, glass of sherry, 2 big chugs of sherry, mouthful of sherry, sip of sherry, double whiskey, 4 mouthfuls of whiskey, splash of whiskey, single teachers, double, tip of sherry, 3 fingers of ale, sip of red wine. Like, there's no way. I think, like, you
need Oliver Reed to do it.
Yeah, that's who you need. Yes,
that's like a Tuesday afternoon for him. I know. Also, in the course of an hour 40 or whatever, you know, like it's not only like a lot of alcohol; it's under 2 hours. Yeah, you'd be fucking gone. Yeah. Did you see that? So much of this apparently was just drawn from his real life. That like he actually, the guy that he based Withnail on, like actually did drink lighter fluid, and he was like blind for a couple days afterwards.
Oh my God. Ugh.
And yeah, stuff like a lot of like their like where they lived, it was in like Camden Town, and that's where he lived. They lived in a flat together in Camden Town, and like yeah, it was crazy just reading like how like specific to like his real life, like so many of the elements were. And then did you? So we kind of touched briefly on like the ending, where Marwood goes off with an acting gig. Withnail's kind of left behind on his own, missing his friend. He does a speech from Hamlet. But did you read what like the original ending was?
No.
So apparently the original ending was it would follow him back to the apartment after that, where he takes some wine and pours it down the barrels of Uncle Monty's shotgun, and then kills himself as he like drinks it.
Christ.
Yeah.
That's bleak. That's even more. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. He decided against it because of it being too bleak. And it's like the movie can be like, they can get to be pretty bummery at times, but like I do feel like that would have like, I don't know, that would like really just be such a downer to end it on, like so much more of a downer.
It's like simultaneously a very Withnail thing to do and also something I can't imagine him ever doing. Like I think the dramatic gesture of like, I'm going to pour wine down the barrels of the gun and then take one final shot. Like that's like very dramatic. that's like very Withnail, but also like his character throughout, while I do think is like kind of like maybe morbid and depressive, he seems way too like self-important to go out that way. So it's like I could see both scenarios, but I do think the suicide ending would be much more. I was like, I don't know, I don't think I would like that as much. I feel like that would like
that's what I mean.
Be in line with like the tone of the movie all the way up to that point. You know,
I think that's kind of what I mean. Is it's like it's too much of a tonal shift to have like that dark of an ending. I hope that like there's a part of my brain that's like, well, now that I'm reading that, I'm just thinking that like, well, after the credits roll, that's what he does. But I'm trying to be like, okay, no.
He's walking home in the rain, and then
yeah.
Is this like the first like slacker comedy? Like it can't be, but also like I'm trying to, you know, this seems like pretty like prototypical for that genre slacker, of like it almost feels like Linklater-y. Like I could see this, you know, just like kind of like a little slice of life of two guys that you know, nothing happens in like a movie way where it's just like it's just a couple guys going to a cabin and hanging out. Like obviously things happen, but it's not like, you know, these big arcs that you expect from like movies. This is more of like a character study, I guess.
Maybe like, I don't know if they're quite slackery, but I'm thinking of like the sex comedies of like the 70s and 80s, like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, kind of slacker comedy.
Yeah.
But that's like slightly different, you know? It's adjacent if it's not the same thing.
Yeah. It's a movie about the like, I think I'm using this correctly, the ennui of like being like a 20, 30 something
that's the right word
you're kind of in this weird spot where like you could have a career, but nothing's really happening for you. And you're just kind of going through the motions and just like, just experiencing life, but nothing's really happening.
Are you talking about the movie, or are you talking about like us?
Yeah, maybe this movie hit a little close to home too. I'm 33, and I'm just like, you know what? Next year it's gonna be different. Take my antifreeze and you know, take a shot of that, and you know, next year we should go on holiday is what we should do.
Yeah.
Let's find a cabin somewhere and go on holiday.
Yeah. Well, your parents have that cabin up north, and you know,
we
pretty ramshackle. Did that. We kind of did, yeah.
I did. I Ralphed outside that thing.
Yeah. And we were also fucking freezing.
That's true.
I'm pretty sure I slept poisoning. In like I had my like wraparound hat, like my scarf, and like I slept like under the blankets, like fully clothed in like my winter clothes.
Oh yeah. But you know what? Here's the thing. I think about that and I'm like, kind of cozy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
there's like that picture. Yeah.
It's like retrospectively, yeah, like a good memory, you know. It's like a fun time, even if it's like kind of thinking like at the time we were like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah. I think there's like pictures of Ethan and I in the like the pull out bed couch thing.
Yeah.
And like I'm wearing like pants and my winter coat, and like I'm just like completely wrapped up.
Yeah.
Moments where like you'll look back and think, you know, man, we had it pretty easy back then. And I think that's like kind of the feeling.
Yeah.
I don't know if Withnail will ever like leave that state of living. Like maybe one day he'll get his act together, but he seems perpetually in that like adolescence almost of just like of potential.
I think that's kind of and that's why like I think it works as like still being like a downer ending and like working for it, but not being as downer as it could have been. Is like I think the movie is trying to leave you with the sense of like Withnail is just going to be kind of stuck there, and he's not he's not like Marwood. He's not ready to like change and grow up and stuff. So I think that is kind of why it leaves you off there as like,
yeah,
so you can be kind of bummed out,
Yeah, like when you first see Marwood and he like cut his hair, and Withnail's
I didn't even know it was the same guy at first. It was so weird.
And Withnail's like, come on, like one more drink for old time's sake, and Marwood's just like, no, not now, I can't do it now, and I'm just like, this is so sad that like Withnail is like trying to cling on to this like experience they had, and it's like for Marwood, it was a stepping stone to where he wants to be, and Withnail is just like, this is who I am, this is like my life, and it's like when two guys are like out of step in that way, it's so sad.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Sweet.
Okay. Yeah. I really liked this. I thought it was pretty funny throughout. I don't know. It's just it is what it is. It's like I said, if you like the characters, I think you got a good chance of liking the movie. I'm like high 7, low 8. I think I'll go with an 8. For my official score, but it's right there. It's like on that border. So that's it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Like I think I'll go with an 8 too, but I was thinking like 7, 8, somewhere in that area. Yeah, the characters are very fun. It's a funny movie. Like all of the little side characters are great. Danny with the huge ass doobie is so like he's like there's like one of those tweets that's going around where it's just like, back in my day, we didn't need Joe Rogan. We just had my older brother's libertarian friend who would come over and smoke weed and talk about the government. And like, I feel like that's Danny. Danny is the guy that like is like, he thinks he's very smart and profound, and he's just like speaking gibberish with a huge blunt. And just something about that type of guy is like endearing to me. I love him. So Danny, Presumin' Ed, which is such a funny name. Everything about it was pretty great, and it was nice to see Richard Griffiths, may he rest in peace, in a different role.
Yeah, cool. Wait, so we both saw the new Nosferatu.
Nosferatu, yes.
Nosferatu. What do you think? I thought it was good.
I thought it was good. I ended up giving it a 4 on Letterboxd, but I think if I watched it again, I think it might actually go down. I don't know. There were some elements of it that I really liked. I liked Willem Dafoe's character. I think he's generally like pretty great, especially in Robert Eggers things. Nicholas Hoult, I mean, everyone was like pretty good, but I don't know. There was a Letterboxd review that I saw that I think kind of summed up how I feel a little bit, which was like, I like it when Robert Eggers has less money to do things. And I kind of get that sentiment where something like The Lighthouse or The Witch feels, I don't know, it doesn't have like that grand spectacle to it, where it's like, I was almost like, this is like too clean. It's like too, like, I don't know, there really
I think
wasn't.
all his movies feel really clean. That's like one of the things that I like about him so much, is like just how like controlled and like clean.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm thinking like almost like image quality, where like the lighthouse just feels like grimier to me. And then I don't know, Nosferatu, there was just like I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like maybe smaller scale, but also I don't know.
Have you seen The Northman?
No, that's the only other one I haven't seen.
Okay, because I don't know like which one had a bigger budget, but I know that one had like a much bigger budget than his first two. And
yeah,
I I don't know. I don't think that's the issue as much for me. Because I'm kind of on the other end. I gave it a 3-star, but I was like, but I could. It was like, so I watched. I think I was kind of hurt by watching all 3 of the Nosferatu movies in a row. Oh, I say I'm sure there's other ones. It's a very popular name or whatever. There's maybe. But I watched the original one, the Werner Herzog one from the 70s, and then this one. And I definitely don't think it's a budget thing, because I would say, if I had to think about it, at least for Eggers, if we're going by that scale, I would say that The Lighthouse is my favorite movie of his. But then I think I would put The Northman at number 2. So you know, I like him on both in either sense.
Okay.
And I think really it was just like this and the Herzog one, where this one I was like 3-star bordering on 3.5. Herzog I was 3.5 bordering on 4. I like that one a lot. But they're both hindered by just like, they just follow the story of the original so tightly. And it's like, I don't feel like either of them, or this one more so, which is probably why I gave it a lower rating, doesn't like do enough with the material. And it's just like, it's, you know, it's also Dracula, you know, so it's like, if you've seen Dracula, it also does that too. And it was like simultaneously cool to see the parallels, but also just like, all right, I just wish, I don't know, I wish there was like more that it did with it. I love the way that it uses, the original did this one too, but like the way that it uses shadows and stuff was really cool, you know. There's some really great cinematography in this one. And in this one and the Herzog one, like there's, I don't know, I'd have to do a count, see which one has more rats in it, but just like there's all the shots of the rats like swarming the streets.
Oh yeah.
In both of them was I don't know, those are cool like that.
Yeah. I did get a chance to see the original Nosferatu, and maybe I talked about it when I watched it, but
I think so.
The funniest thing in the world to me was when he gets to the carriage and it's just obviously Nosferatu, like as the driver.
Yeah, I was like, really bummed that they didn't do that for either of the remakes.
Because like when Nicholas Hoult gets in the carriage, it's just like empty, and I'm like, oh man, come on.
Yeah. No, they do not want to show off Nosferatu like hardly at all in this movie.
Yeah,
like you see him when the sunlight hits him, but like, and you see him other times, but he's always like very dark and shadowy, and you don't really get much of like a great look at his face.
I did not know it was Bill Skarsgård.
Oh, really?
I didn't know that going into it.
Oh, okay.
Apparently he like permanently altered his vocal cords. Like
what?
It like in developing the voice, like his maybe this
everybody's
is
just doing the Austin Butler Elvis excuse.
Yeah,
because he said that happened to him too. He's like, yeah, I just talk like this now.
But I think with Bill Skarsgård, it was like his voice is like slightly pitched lower now because he did the voice for so long. I don't know. This could be just something that someone said to me and I just took it at face value. But Bill Skarsgård is like very like method about that character, I guess.
Huh. I don't know. I don't know if did you read my Letterboxd review at all?
I think I did.
Because I couldn't fucking get this out of my head that did you listen to the graduation arc of Adventure Zone?
I listened to like maybe 2 episodes. I did not get very far in that.
It's the right choice. That's the one that I stopped watching on, or stopped listening to it on. But Justin's character in that is a Fearbolg, and he sounds exactly like Bill Skarsgård in this movie, and it's all I could think of.
Oh, like, okay. I do think I like, did get to like Justin, their character. Yeah.
He talks like very kind of deep, and he has kind of like a Eastern European type accent, and I could not get that out of my head with this one. It was very distracting, but that's on me. I was like, aside from that, like, it's good. It's just, I just kept thinking of that thing.
And
it was kind of fun seeing, like, I like that he was just like pure evil. Like, he was like a demon, basically. Whereas, like, I feel like the original Nosferatu, maybe it's just because it's a silent movie and they don't know how to be as scary, but like, he feels just kind of more like your standard vampire, where he's like, maybe not completely just engulfed in evilness. And then the Herzog one is like totally different. He's like this like emo sad boy who's very like soft spoken, and like he's like a little baby man. I don't know. He's very like that was my favorite movie and my favorite like performance of Nosferatu. I really liked that one. I think maybe just because it was so different. Because he's like in that one, he's like basically there's moments where he like talks to the characters. Like I think like interestingly enough, in that one too, they just use their Dracula names. So he's Count Dracula in that one.
Oh.
And the main guy is not. So it's Thomas Hutter in Nosferatu, but it's Jonathan Harker in Dracula, and then is it not Mina and I forgot what the girl's name is, but yeah, they use their Van Helsing is instead of whatever it was in the other ones.
The legally distinct from Bram Stoker's story character.
Yeah. But he'll have like little scenes with them where he's saying like it's misery to live for centuries. Like I wish that I could die, but I'm like compelled to do what I do to live. And so it's kind of like pensive in that. It's like, oh yeah, this feels
Herzog.
like Werner Herzog. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good.
To live is to suffer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then just going from that to this, again, just pure evil version of him in this one is very different. But
yeah,
I liked the performance, just very different.
Yeah. Thought Lily Rose Depp was pretty good. This is like the first thing I've ever like seen her in. Her like body contortion work was pretty wild.
Yeah. She's much better than she was in Yoga Hosers, but that's not saying much because that movie is fucking awful and it's fucking dog shit. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. So it's better than that at least. I feel like even with like The Northman, which was very polarizing, I feel like his first three movies had a bit more like heart to them than this one, and maybe that's kind of what I find a little lacking about this one too. Is like this was a remake, it wasn't like an original story like the other ones. And there's like such this dedication to the time and setting of the movies to like even to like an alienating degree, which like again, especially with The Northman, is like very alienating, like the type of stuff that they like show and like how the characters speak and stuff. And it could just be maybe because this is also set more in a more modern time than any of his other ones. I guess maybe The Lighthouse is technically, they're probably around the same time. But maybe that's why I don't know exactly how to like phrase it, but like it just doesn't, it still like looks like a Robert Eggers movie, but I don't know if I think it felt as much like a Robert Eggers movie.
I think maybe that's what I was feeling. Like there's like something missing to it. And maybe it's the heart like you're talking about, or like or maybe because it's like an adaptation and it's not his original story, where like his original stories are really good. It's like it's almost like lessened a little bit because he's adapting something from there's like certain expectations with an adaptation, I guess.
And although if I'm thinking correctly now, I do think The Northman is an adaptation, but it's of like a very old like Norse like mythology tale.
Yeah.
So it's not like a movie or like, a book. It's an adaptation.
It's not like
but it's
an
not
intellectual property or something.
Yeah, it's something that like I don't think he has to be super super like God, I just like my vocabulary just fucking shrinks whenever we're recording.
Yeah. It's not something he has to be faithful to, or else people are going to be mad about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's inspired by more than like just yeah. I think that's it. The idea. Okay. All right. So let's pull a thing. Just another normal one, right?
Just another normal Monday. That's how that song goes, right?
Just another normal Monday. Yeah. So, movie for next week is from 2006, directed by Tarsem Singh, but he's credited as just Tarsem. The Fall.
I've heard of this movie.
Yeah, that's the movie for next week. And I haven't seen it in a while, so that'll be a good one to I kind of check back in with that movie once every few years. It's so it'll be fun to check out again. So watch that before the next episode if you don't want to be spoiled for it. These episodes come out on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. EST on YouTube in video form, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more in audio form. We also have social pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And
we just posted a TikTok. Check it out.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
about the Rap City Street Kids.
Yeah.
So if that's a thing you're into, check that out.
It's on the Instagram, or I think it's on all the stuff that we can do shorts.
YouTube shorts
stuff
and Instagram as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gonna try to make more of those. I did it pretty quick. So I mean,
I see like it, yeah.
I just got to find the right moment from the show to like clip, and then I've got a pretty good method now for doing captions and animating them and stuff. So
anyway, all that stuff out of the way. I fuck arses, and I'm TJ, and with me as always, I'm a Ponce, and I fuck arses in a moment of drunken lucidity or sincerity. Yes. And I'm Nick. And I'm going to go smoke a big fat Camberwell carrot now.